Thanks for checking out the BoshNRoll channel. If you want to see me play your deck, hang out with me in the amazing BoshNRoll community in Discord, access to my lists and sideboard guides before tournaments, book an individual coaching session, or just generally want to support what's going on here, check out the Patreon and YouTube membership options. For the finest Magic the Gathering apparel on the market, use code BoshNRoll for 10% off your order at coalesceapparel.shop. Moxfield.com is the easiest way to build a Magic deck online. If you want to play what I'm playing, use my affiliate link to support the channel while you shop for cards at tcgplayer.com and play any deck anytime on Magic Online with a cardhoarder.com loan account. Thanks for being here. Let's go play some Magic. Welcome back for another BoshNRoll video. Today I'm playing Modern, and this is from Patreon subscriber Unrighteous Job. This is the same Unrighteous Job who gave us Sultai Loam a couple weeks ago. That video was awesome. Some of the best Magic I've caught on camera in a while. The video performed well as well, which is always a bonus when I play good Magic. It's nice to know people are watching it. And Job is back for more. Job and I actually worked on this deck together. Job is a Patreon member at the tier where he gets a monthly coaching session and a monthly league on the channel. If you're interested in that, check out the links to my Patreon. But we, just yesterday, spent an hour tuning up this deck to a place where we think it's coherent. Basically, what Job wanted to do was take his Sultai Loam deck and take it in kind of the direction of Legacy Dark Bant, which is a deck I was super into last year for a while. Obviously, Legacy and Modern have different incentives, different cards available to them. But basically, what we're trying to do is play a bunch of the best spells across 4 different colors and win the game with them. You'll notice the whole Loam package is gone. There's nothing tricky happening in the mana base here. There's no Cycle lands, no Takenuma, nothing like that. There's just Boseiju, Otawara, and a few Triomes as far as lands that do anything other than just tap for mana. This did start as a Loam deck, but that package got thinned and thinned until just Slogurk remained. And I guess we have one Witherbloom command that can pick up a land as well. But generally what we're trying to do is just every card we play is good for 2 or 3 cards from the opponent and eventually run them out of gas. We also kind of built from the top down around Obscura Charm, which is a card Job was really excited about. And all of the modes on this card are good. It's just that it's a 3 mana spell that costs 3 different colors is the primary thing that holds it back. But I think we've built to use it pretty well. Choose 1. Return a multicolored permanent with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. That's what Teferi, Grist, and Ashiok are doing in the deck. This also hits Slogurk, who is the unofficial commander of all of Job's decks. Next mode is counter target instant or sorcery. And the last one is destroy target creature, planeswalker with mana value 3 or less. This does something in almost every situation. Pretty sweet card. We did show some restraint and only played 2 of them. And then we filled in the gaps with just good Modern cards. Unearth can get back Grist, Slogurk, Snapcaster Mage, and Jace. Jace and Snapcaster do graveyard stuff. Drown in the Lock and Counterspell keep the board clear. Leyline Binding and Prismatic Ending can catch anything that slides through. I have my eye on Prismatic Ending. Having 3 Prismatic Ending and 4 Leyline Binding seems like a lot, but I'm going to let it ride for now. These might want to be another Counterspell or Drown in the Lock. I'm actually just going to make that change. Drown in the Lock is frequently enough also a removal spell that I'm going to go higher on that. That's the only change I'm going to make though, but it makes sense to me. In the sideboard, we just tried to identify matchups we'd be bad against and plug those gaps a little bit. Got Blossoming Calm for burn and scam, Necromentia for combo, Force of Vigor for hammer and Blood Moon, Endurance for all the matchups that Endurance is good in, which is most matchups, honestly. Fulminator Mage is for Tron and Amulet, and also meets the criteria to be recurred with Obscura Charm and Unearth. Also the Void for the Cascade decks, and another Boseiju for Blood Moon. And that's the deck. I have not seen anything quite like this in Modern before, but all of our choices are well reasoned. We'll just see if it holds up in actual gameplay. Let's go do that. I'm on the draw in round number 1, and this hand has Prismatic Ending and Leyline Binding. There's those. To interact with some early stuff, I can cycle Unearth if nothing better happens by then. If I draw any land, I can Ashiok. If I draw a green land, I can Grist. I'm going to keep this. Got a Misty Rainforest strategy from the opponent. Overgrown Tomb. Birds of Paradise. Smells like Yawgmoth to me. Right, there's the green. I'm going to get this Rafine's Tower in. Rafine's Tower plus Forest gives me Leyline Binding. Those are 4 land types when combined. This deck can't actually get to Leyline Binding for 1. We aren't playing a red land, a mountain, anywhere in the deck, and that's okay. We figured that doing it for 2 was good enough. Interesting. My opponent played Prosperous Innkeeper and then passed the turn without a land drop. I'm going to Prismatic Ending this Birds of Paradise and try to just put them in the Stone Age here. I suspect Ashiok will obliterate this deck too. If they are any sort of Yawgmoth, Collected Company, Eldritch Evolution, Port of Calling thing, the Ashiok is just really good against that. They found another Mana Dingus, and they doubled their clock, both of which are kind of annoying. Let's see what happens here. Oh, Teferi. I could spend a turn bouncing Ignoble Hierarch, putting them back, moving me forward. And I lose Teferi immediately to Prosperous Innkeeper, but do I care? I could also bounce the Innkeeper. Oh, this is a treasure, not a clue. Or a food. I think I thought this was a food. Yeah. I thought this was a food. This is not the set this is from. It's from AFR, not Eldraine. I'm thinking of something different. But okay. Treasure token is tough. I think I'm going to bounce the Hierarch. Just make them do something as I move the game forward. Drown in the Loch was a great find. If I can find a black source off the top that's not Rafine's Tower, I can beat up their whole board. Found a land. This is where I lose because I didn't play Ashiok. Geist, okay. They are approaching a dangerous Yawgmoth situation. Not draw a land at all. That's disappointing. Quick Grist in front of this. We know they have Ignoble Hierarch, 4 mystery cards. Am I dead to Yawgmoth here? You gain a life whenever a creature comes into play, but you have to target something with Strangleroot Geist. Yeah, I'm not dead yet. I think I want to get Grist in there. Ashiok, though. Ashiok turns off Drown in the Loch. That's awkward deck building. It was something I was aware of. I just figured if we had Ashiok in play, I wouldn't be that worried about Drown in the Loch. Maybe that doesn't make sense, though. Mill to Prismatic Ending off Grist. I also don't have to activate Ashiok. I can just put it in play and let the Mindlock Orb hang out. Another Strangleroot. Bring it. They've gone into combat and then taken Prosperous Innkeeper in and out of combat a couple times. If they attack with Innkeeper, I lose Grist if I trade with it. And they seem really hung up on this decision of offering the trade or not. But do they want to grind through Grist or have this Innkeeper in play? And I have Unearth for Grist, so I'm just trading off with the Innkeeper. It's pretty easy here, actually. Spent their treasure on the Ignoble Hierarch. Alright, another Grist. I can unearth the Grist that's in my graveyard and play Jace. If they Yawg this turn, they would need to draw a land, but they kept this hand for a reason. Can't interact effectively with Yawg anyway. I could just hold up Leyline Binding, but that sounds actually... I'm gonna unearth Grist, make a bug, and make Jace, and hope that something good happens next turn. I've now missed 2 land drops in my 24 land deck after drawing extra cards. Disappointing. Let's hope they don't Yawg me right now and draw their deck. Shit. Well, they're out of mana. If they just slam Yawg, they can draw cards till they're happy, but they do have to pass the turn. Don't think they can just win from this spot. If you're not familiar with this combo, you can sack a Strangleroot Geist, which will come back with a +1 counter, and then sack another Strangleroot Geist and put a -1 counter on the one with a +1 counter, and they can go back and forth and you draw a card each time. So it's basically pay 1 life, draw a card is the engine they have right now. And they are going for it. Guess I can just F6 and watch it happen from here. And they do have to make a move on this Grist because it'll just kill Yawg. I know I have another Unearth. I also know I don't really want to use my Rafine's Tower. Rafine's Tower is doing so much work right now. It's my white source and my black source. Just tough beats. Speaking of tough beats, they sacked their ignoble hierarch to clear my bug. That's fine. I like Jace being a creature more than I like having Grist in play. Okay, Triome. What does that do? Not a whole lot of helpful anything. I could activate Jace, see if I draw a land, and see where that goes. If I activate Jace in combat, it can block, then flip into a Planeswalker and not be attacked. I think I need to activate it now. Okay. They're making moves on my Jace right now with Yawgmoth. Makes sense. Okay. In that case, I'm gonna try to clear this Yawg right now. I guess I should have done this first, but I was trying to see if I drew a land. Oh, didn't need to do that first. Okay. Jace is in the graveyard. Untap black source. Source, okay. I think I discard this other Grist. Yeah, I'll discard the other Grist and then play Zagoth Triome and pass the turn. They have 6 damage on board and 7 cards in their hand. Good chance they can just go land second Yawg here. I'm taking 6. Ooh, tap land. Can't Yawg with that. Your own Grist. Disappointing. Okay. My mana are finally set up here. I can unearth Grist or unearth Jace. Unearthing Grist is medium, but maybe worth doing. If I unearth Grist, I can hold up Drown on the Lock for a turn. I'm going to go for Grist. Yeah, I think I go for Grist, mill a card, play my land, use Drown on the Lock to be alive for the turn, and then try to get something going. We're running out of options here, though. Them having Grist and not just a bunch of creatures in play really messes with my mojo here. Okay, this is interesting. They have pitched Ignoble Hierarch to Endurance. I can just counter Endurance, but then Yawg gets to do Yawg stuff next turn. Alright, I'll counter the Endurance. This could be a trap, but I'm walking right into it. Give it to me. Hook it to my veins. I love traps. And plus Grist hits Slowgurk. Yeah, I just lose Grist to a full-out attack here, so it's not worth blocking with. Why did I spend a card to protect this? I guess because I go to 3 in play. If they spend time attacking Grist, that's time they're not reducing my life points to 0. They're going for sacrifice mode. They sack their insect. They attack my Grist. That's pretty good. Oh, right. They could also just kill Grist. Skip the middleman. Good call. They're clearly a more competent Grist wizard than I am. Young Wolf. The Undying Squad is here. There's a Yawg in hand. We're in trouble. I mean, we're in trouble anyway. Blood Artist. The whole combo's here now. Now whenever a creature dies, I lose 1 life and they gain 1 life. Guess I can block the Stranglegeist to save 2 damage. I still take 1 from Blood Artist. There's not a sweeper in the deck that I can think of. I guess I'm about to look at my deck. Let's see. What are my outs here? It has to be like some sort of runner, like Teferi, bounce something, pick up Snapcaster, snap something. Not pretty, is what I'm saying. And that's certainly not it. Okay. The more efficient Grist deck got up under me. Endurance comes in here. I think Necromancer comes in here. Ashiok is good at stopping their stuff from going off, but it's really bad if you're behind on board. Like, Ashiok was in my opening hand that game, and I identified that they were a deck that cares about Ashiok, and then I died with it still in my hand. Just did not do enough. I think I'm going to go down to 1 to dig for it in the later game. Witherbloom Command is kind of poop soup here. Drown on the Lock's risky when I have both Ashiok and Endurance in my deck. Just going to get a little skinnier on that. Blossoming Calm does stop Thoughtseize. I don't think that's enough to bring it in. They showed me Endurance. Do I want to have Unearth in my deck? Probably. Snapcaster is less efficient than Unearth versus Endurance. I'm going to go a little later on Snapcaster, and then this is my plan. Oof. All right. I have a juiced up Leyline Binding and Otawara, but nothing else going on. I think I got to send this. This is the same hand, but with Counterspell. But I can't, oh, I can cast a counterspell. I have Watery Grave in basic. All right, I'll keep this one. And where is the least helpful overlap in the mana base? I need the island and the Watery Grave, and at least one white source. This is a base blue-black deck. The green and white are splashes, which means that, okay, Watery Grave plus Temple Garden gives me turn 2 binding, though, and no other version of this does that. So I'm going to send the Overgrown Tomb, and I'm going to lead on Watery Grave. This gives me the counterspell or the binding on 2. Birds of Paradise, okay. Necromentia, okay. Let's just counterspell and curve up into Necromentia. Take those pesky Yogs out of the deck. Prepared to counter almost anything here. Not a mana dork, but yeah, not that either. If they follow up with Strangleroot Geist, I'm hitting it. Okay. They've managed to deploy multiple spells that are not worth my counterspell. Okay, I'm gonna cast Necromentia and hope that they don't have Veil of Summer. On the stack. Yawgmoth, Thran Physician. Word of Calling and Hepatra, Vizier of Poisons in the hand. All 4 Yogs in the deck. No zombies today. Blood Artist, Cord, Re-Endurance, Force of Vigor. Did I show them a reason for that? I don't know. Or Grist, Geist, 1 Innkeeper, 1 Veil. They do have Veil. They do have Unlicensed Hearse in the deck. Okay. I'll pass the turn then. They do have a pretty big Cord here. If they try to wait till instant speed, the counterspell will snag it. There's Hepatra. Whenever they put a -1 counter on something, they get a 1/1 snake with Death Touch. Verdant Catacombs is in play. They can Cord for 2 right now. I will accept my 1 damage. Looks like they're not cording this turn if they think 1 damage is worth more than 1 mana. I didn't see a 1-drop in their deck that would be worth spending a Cord of Calling on. Okay. They agree with my assessment. If I shock in Temple Garden, I can Leyline Bind and Counterspell. It also costs me 2 life. I think it's worth having all that. Important to note, if I had Naya Triome, Jetmir's Garden, I think that's what that one is, I would have been able to do that turn pain-free and without giving away information, but I still don't think it's worth doing overall in the deck. Okay, I can counter Grist and later bind whatever they Cord for. Yeah, I'll just counter Grist. Hope they didn't draw the 1 of Veil of Summer. That's their 1 mystery card. There is an Outland Liberator in their deck that can blow up my Leyline Binding. That's where this is going. I think I'm just going to bind Hepatra. I spent 2 life to be able to cast this, and this Hepatra is about to get in for 2. Just get rid of it. Okay, deck. I've done the stabilization part. Now let's pull ahead somehow. Give me a Planeswalker. Or Slowgurk, even better than a Planeswalker. Big Gurk Father. I can immediately fetch it up to 4/4. If they answer it, I'll get a land back. Drawing a card in response, sure. That is legal. And this 4/4 stabilizes the board. Okay, what was the draw? Another Grist. Disappointing. So they're going to sacrifice something. I am not going to Leyline Bind here. Probably going to bind the Grist eventually. Sack the Young Wolf. Targeting Slowgurk. I'll fetch in response. And do I want to get a Triome? There's no basic swamp in the deck, so it's either Triome or Shockland. Question is, do I want more Triomes in the deck to cycle with? I draw them. Probably. I can't currently cast Endurance. I'll get Breeding Pool. Then Slowgurk dies, I get that Pluto Delta back. Some value off of that. 2 cards in hand, one of them is Court of Calling. But a Planeswalker, a Snapcaster. Ooh, okay. Snapcaster plays. I could snap hit Court of Calling right now, but I don't think that's actually good. I think I'm going to Leyline Bind Grist in the upkeep, and I can snap Counterspell if they go for the Cord. Fetching in response for Dryad Arbor. Oh yeah, they're doing it. Uh-oh. Do I have another blue mana I can fetch with this blue to Delta? Did I punt this by tapping my island? Oh no. Hallowed Fountain in the deck. Okay, Jesus Christ. Made this harder than it needed to be. This is a line that requires triple blue. Snapcaster, target counterspell. Can't grist me with only one card in hand. Counter the Cord. And grist is gone. Snapcaster can trade with the Young Wolf. And then we're in a top deck war. That sequence worked out exactly how I hoped it would. Now let's draw Teferi and just pull ahead here, or Ashiok would be great. Counterspell. We're in farting around mode. But farting around with a counterspell doesn't feel too bad. Unlicensed Source is not a card that I can reasonably play against. And there's like half my deck that doesn't care about it, and the other half that loses to it completely. And in top deck mode, I don't want half my deck cut off. Yeah. Let's go. Getting gristy with it. Taking bugs. Milled Obscura Charm. Disappointing. Would have been great to get back that Slogurk. Okay, we're just hammering spells onto the stack now, both of us drawing a card and putting it into play, and just seeing who's better at doing that. Uh-oh. This looks like Eldritch Evolution, which can get the Outland Liberator. Okay, just getting your own grist is the same as getting Outland Liberator here. This Liberator would kill Binding and get grist, so you might as well just do it this way. Makes sense to me. I have a good attack here. Okay, attack grist. I'll end up with a bug in play to their nothing if they want to save grist. Or Snapcaster in play. Okay. That block was available to them. They found it. Alright, deck. Time to find another Snapcaster or Jace or something to get this thing going. Fairy's good. Fairy's actually bonkers. Fairy. Ooh, Ashiok Game Ender. Might not end this game. We're kind of far behind, but we're going to play it. Ashiok. You're not going to be able to search. I can mill myself and exile their graveyard. Is milling me good? Probably. Mill myself and exile their graveyard. Just milled 2 Jaces. Great. Would have liked to draw those. They didn't fetch in response to Ashiok. Either planning on killing it or they just don't need that mana. Nurturing Peatland. Throw a card immediately. Plus grist. Hit a second grist. Oh no, 2 bugs. Do they care enough to lose Young Wolf to pressure Ashiok? They're pressuring my face. That's a good thing to pressure. I'm going to trade with Young Wolf. This makes Teferi a much worse draw than it was a second ago. Oh, Binding. Cool. I'm going to bind grist in their upkeep. Not activating Ashiok. There's basically no reason to do that. They can't Cord here. They can't Eldritch Evolution. They can't even use that Verdant Catacombs that's in play. I think that's all of their grists accounted for. It is, okay. Attacking my life points directly. They are pretty low. Come on, Snapcaster Mage. No, not like this. Well, I am at 2. Didn't think about it for a second, just went in with everything. Snapcaster. Shit. Okay. Yeah, we just ran out of gas there. Obviously, that blind mill with Ashiok milling 3 action spells in a row, and then me drawing 2 lands in a row, but I mean, you can't really plan around that. That's whatever. It could have milled 3 lands. So just ran out of gas there. Maybe this deck needs a better draw engine than it has. On to the next round. This video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, the easiest way to build Magic decks online. Moxfield supports over 30 formats, including Legacy and every other format you'll see on this channel. They have multiple customizations so you can view your deck how you want. Text view, stacks, grid, custom grouping by type, subtype, color, light mode, dark mode. However you want to see your deck, they can provide it for you. My favorite feature is you can choose your set printing, make the deck look exactly how you want it to. The deck screen features expandable sections that show you what tokens your deck makes, your recent change history to the deck, stats about mana curve and opening hand distribution, mana cost distribution. You can deal out sample hands and even play test the deck. Island Ponder. You know I'm keeping this one. This site has everything. Follow me on moxfield.com to keep up with decks I'm playing for the channel and what I'm up to in paper. I'll see you there. I'm on the play for round number 2. I'm going to keep this hand. It needs another land, but I play a lot of those. 24 of them are in the deck. I would prefer if this drown was counterspell right now. And I do have to acknowledge the possibility that this drown could have been prismatic ending, which might even be better. Yep, prismatic ending would have been way the shit better than this. Oh, please, please use that. Oh my god. Yes, okay, we get to go Ragavan. That's a relief. I'm gonna fetch for... What is the best starting setup here? I get Rafine's Tower that turns on white. Spar's Headquarters gives me white and black. Or not white and black, white and green, which are my 2 splash colors. Spar's HQ plus Watery Grave is everything I need to be doing. Okay. Oh, that's so much better. Sweet Jesus. Okay. Green and black. The Watery Grave plan is still on. Watery Grave. Shock it in. Kill Ragavan and hit my 3rd land drop. Target player mills 3, pick up a land. Target creature gets -3/-1. What's this thing? Let's go. I'm gonna mill myself. Opponent has graveyard synergies. Not gonna fuel them. And I'll pick up this Misty Rainforest. That's the turn. That was great. Witherbloom Command in Legacy Dark Bant that I mentioned in the deck tech. We were on Witherbloom Command because Ragavan was still legal in the format at the time. Okay, this is interesting. I could start trying to play chicken with this opponent. I'm not just going to shove my Planeswalker into counterspell. If they get impatient and try to do something, I can drown it and then go on my turn. Mishra's Bauble, and consider in the graveyard. Fetch land, or not even fetch land, any untapped land gets the Murktide right now, which I won't be able to drown, but I will be able to Teferi. Bauble themselves. Okay. I'm not going to fetch. I'm going to try to just hit land drops here. Come on, deck. Give me double drown. Give me that double drown. Doing something in my upkeep. And I guess I'm passing. That sucks. All I want to do with a control deck is hit land drops, and this is why red is played. Ren and 6 would be in the Slowgurk slot if we were a different color spread. Or it might be in the Grist slot. I guess black would be the color we're not playing. The Ren and 6 just runs away with this situation. We can kill that. They're going for a Murktide here. I'm going to kill Ragavan in response. Black. Just take that out while I can and hope that they don't have a land drop and I get to ferry them. Okay, I'm going to fetch for one of my Triomes in the end step. I think I want Zagoth. They both cast Teferi. Speaking of whom, Teferi, get in there, clear this Murktide, maybe still hit a land drop, please. Built. There are basically no 1-drops in the deck, there's just the Unearths. Those could be Considers, Serum Visions, things to smooth out problems like this. Unholy Heat. Teferi's gone. Please don't cast Blood Moon right now. You can redeploy Murktide, I'm cool with that. Oh yeah, we're right back in there. Give me another crack with this Teferi. Another Teferi. How about a land? Maybe Everdeck. There are so many lands. All right, we got one. And it's one that can answer Blood Moon. Not now, but Leyline Binding will do it. The next basic gets Prismatic Ending off the ground. Yet another Teferi's ready to rock. I have to cast something here. I think I want Grist. This is the one I have 2 of. It's the one that starts putting pressure on when they counter it. Fine. They are still holding that Murktide. They figured out how to dash Ragavan on the 3rd attempt. I think it's going to be annoying. Please don't take any good cards from me. Took Baby Jace. Okay. If they flip this Jace, it'll come back into play on my turn. Or on under my control. So they have to be careful with using it, though that is a really good card for them to have. They'll have to tap out a counterspell to play it. Okay. They didn't run the Jace out there. Land? Land. Land? Alright, we got a land. I'm going to play Breeding Pool. And I'm going to rock this Slowgurk. I can drown a counterspell. Not sure if I want to. Let's see what they do. Right. I will drown the counter spell. Hope they don't have Spell Pierce. Exactly enough cards to counter this. I know they have Murktide Ragavan in their hand and 2 mystery cards. Slogurk's in there. They clear him. I get my next 3 land drops lined up, and then we can start taking over. My hand has multiple answers to Murktide Region in it. I have a 3/3 in front of Ragavan currently. All right, not anymore. Pick up Misty, Ottawa, and Polluted Delta. These are in my hand now. We'll probably dash the Rag. Oh, in they come. Puts them on super low resources for my turn, though. Exiled Polluted Delta. Don't need that anymore. Drew another Delta. I'm going to fetch a basic island and play Teferi. Teferi's on the stack. Have they been holding on to a counterspell? Now or never. Bummer. They have. Okay. Teferi's countered. That means Grist is going to do the work. Instead, plus Grist. Killed the other Jace. And passing with 7 in hand. Grist is my answer to Murktide Regent now. We only have 1 card type in the graveyard. They can't Unholy Heat Grist. Rag Murktide Mystery card in hand. There's the Rag. Pretty happy to snap Witherbloom command that. Leyline Binding. Okay. Heck yeah. How do I want to play this game from here? Now I have options for the first time in the game. I think I'm going to start with Slogurk. Slogurk's in play. Or at least on the stack. Wow. Fired off their final counterspell on that one. That's fine. Countered the Gurk. Now Witherbloom command is free to go nuts. Murktide Regent is the last card in their hand. I have multiple answers too. I'm going to fetch Basic Forest. And then Snapcaster Witherbloom command. Snapcaster. What does Unearth get? It gets another Grist. I could Unearth the Fairy. No, I'd rather Witherbloom. I'm gonna drain my opponent for 2 life, actually, and kill Dragon's Rage Channeler. Alright, they don't even need to see it resolve. Yeah, I'm not worried about Ragavan with 3 X1 blockers in play. I'm gonna plus Grist, kill Dragon's Rage Channeler, drain them to get myself well out of burn range, and then just load it up on answers to Murktide. Cool. Endurance comes in. The Seiju comes in versus Blood Moon. Ashiok's fine. Obscura Charm is fine. Counterspell's fine. Brown is medium. Their Murktides can play around it extremely well, and I'm a deck full of removal. I am feeling somewhat foolish in the 2 matches we played so far that I only have 2 endings and 4 drowns instead of the 3 and 3 split that the deck started with. Maybe that was just the right call. Ashiok does keep the graveyard under control, but so does Endurance, which I'm boarding in to do that job. They're probably going to have Unlicensed Hearse in their deck, which Witherbloom Command and Boseiju both answer. That makes Snapcaster work worse, but Snapcaster is one of my best cards. I think it's just Ashiok. We're upgrading Ashiok into Endurance for the matchup. I will keep. This doesn't cast Witherbloom Command with the lands that it has. I'm in. Okay, I'm glad that wasn't Ragavan. Kept their card on top with Bauble. Their counterspell. Ugh, okay. Not really where I want to be right now. Another Bauble. Into Murktide. And EI. Okay. A reckless post-land drop EI with 2 baubles already spent. Please don't find a third. Show me that anticipate. Shit. They hit a 3rd bauble in their top 13 cards. Fair enough. Full value and delirious. I guess I'm just going to kill this thing. Drown in the lock on my turn. Need to get green. I need black. And I'd like green and white. Black, green, white. I don't play that Triumph. All the Triumphs are blue-based. Black is the essential one, and I can also get green off of Zagoth. Currently no white cards in my hand. Alright, I'm getting Zagoth. Unearth, maybe someday will be helpful. Right now, I'm just going to take the pressure off. Right there. Fetching pretty quickly here. I fully expect Blood Moon. Yep. Okay. And Endurance. I'm going to cycle Unearth, try to hit a land drop. No love. Ace the Mind Sculptor. Okay. This one is over. By a lot, actually. I'm just going to concede. I might have been able to slog through a Blood Moon, but Blood Moon backed by Jace is just not going to happen here. Okay. Missing my land drop hurt. I have 2 Boseijus and 6 main deck answers, plus the Teferis. I don't think I want Force of Vigor for this matchup. One thing I could do is get rid of the Unearths, bring in Chalice of the Void, play it on 1, and then we both have prison elements to our deck. If I'm doing that, maybe I keep 1 Unearth in and I can cycle it if it's bad. One thing I talked about with Job when we were building this deck is this could be a main deck Chalice deck like the blue-white decks do. I will keep this hand. We didn't end up going the Chalice route, obviously. You can see the deck in front of you, but it is there if you want it. First appearance of Obscura Charm in my hand. Scalding Tarn, Mishra's Bauble. Bauble yourself. Didn't like the card. But they actually have a 1-drop. They just shocked in the Steam Vents. Okay, no. They're just playing to consider, probably. Wrist. I like it. Just going to leave up Counterspell and pass the turn. I have a land and a Ragavan that I will throw a Counterspell at. Spell Pierced? Sure. Ragavan resolves. Can't cast these Endurances right now. My options are Jam Grist off Basic Forest. I could Leyline Bind the Ragavan and go back into Draw Go mode. I think I want to jam the Grist off of Basic Forest. Grist requires a lot to work through. They don't have Delirium currently. They can't just last the Grist. They could bolt my Insect and attack Grist. Or I bolt my Insect, attack me, hope that Ragavan delivers something. Or Shredder, okay. They do have the heat. Just targeting the Insect, not the Grist. Do they want to work on Grist or trigger Ragavan? Yep, I would also trigger Ragavan here. They're attacking me. Logurk in exile. Didn't want that. What I really want is a green source. An untapped green source. Oh, come the fuck on. I had F6'd, and I could have countered that with Endurance. Damn it. I'm the worst Magic player. Wait, I drew Teferi, though. Let's clear the Ledger Shredder. I could have pitch cast Endurance to save Grist, and then we're just in business. Okay. I suspect they will prioritize Teferi rather than hitting me with Ragavan, unless they have a burn spell in their hand. Okay. So they are prioritizing Ragavan. Connecting. They must have another answer to Teferi, or they think they can just beat this. Upcaster Mage. With a land drop, that's an Unholy Heat. I haven't F6 this time, though, so I could still Endurance. They could even play Snapcaster, trigger Ledger Shredder, and if they draw a land somewhere along the way. Okay. EI is the play instead of Snapcaster. Discarded Blood Moon. Good call. Not going to help you here. Found a land. Played the land. Okay. We're safely in my end step now. Or in their end step, where I can do stuff without being interrupted. Dagoth Triome gets me the gold spells in my hand and the Endurance. Bar's Headquarters does that too, while giving me 2 white sources. Okay, I think I want the HQ. Okay, they're fetching in my end step. Alright, just saving time, I guess. Unearth. You know what I can do at instant speed. I can cast sorceries. But that doesn't help because I can't activate Grist at instant speed. And I'm gonna return Grist to play, make a 1/1 Insect, and then pass the turn, and I have an uncounterable, untouchable Endurance, which I am just gonna cast right now. Or their graveyard gets any use. Oh yeah, go ahead, counter it. Yep. Just floating mana for counterspell. Womp, womp, womp. Okay. One of their 3 cards in hand is counterspell. Good to know. And we're off. I have a big flying blocker now. I have blockers on the ground. 2 planeswalkers. Starting to pull ahead here. Dragon's Rage Channeler. Dragon's Rage Channeler. Get a Ledger Shredder trigger. We're going to see that counterspell hit the graveyard. Or are they going to try to kill Teferi and turn it back on somehow? Spell Pierce hit the graveyard. Okay. They don't really have attacks here. They're going to do it anyway. Okay. Just throwing crap at the wall here. I will make the obvious blocks, and then I'll go to my turn. Always happy to see a land, plus Teferi, plus Grist. Now I can Endurance and Leyline Bind this turn, if that's something I decide I need to do. And I can answer Murktide Regent. I'm not worried about Delirium. I hope they do get Delirium. Moving straight into combat. And they're attacking with Ledger Shredder again. Oh, they're attacking with everything. And they're going to lose everything. Endurance. Still trying to counter my spell. It still doesn't work. For the same reasons it didn't work last turn. Teferi, Time Raveler. I'll take your graveyard away again. And they scooped it up. Yeah, I think I was pretty well in control of that one. This still had a handful of gas and multiple Planeswalkers running. That felt good. This is the #1 deck in Modern, and we just handled it pretty well. Lost a game to a Blood Moon, but we won the 2 games where we cast our spells. Good place to be. Let's roll. You come here to level up at Magic. To level up as a software engineer, check out the new YouTube series Dev Better, hosted by the founder of 7 Factor Software and Magic player, Jeremy Duvall. 7 Factor's small teams of high-performing engineers build custom mobile apps, APIs, and highly scalable systems for Fortune 500 companies and ambitious startups with great ideas. If you'd like to hire 7 Factor, or maybe join their team, contact them through their website at 7factor.io. And don't forget to subscribe to 7 Factor's YouTube for every episode of Dev Better. I'm on the play in round 3 with a handful of cards that are good. I'm going to keep it. This Flooded Strand is destined for a triome of some variety. I'll figure it out once my opponent reveals what they're up to. Blue to Delta is what they're up to. Still getting a triome here. Rafine's Tower plus Overgrown Tomb and the Plains give me all my colors. That casts... That does cast Grist. It casts Teferi. It casts Snapcaster. Yeah. Alright, Rafine's Tower it is. Seiju, okay. Just gonna play the Tomb tapped. If they tap out for some creature this turn, Teferi or Grist can handle it. And I don't need to hold up Leyline Binding here. Shocked in a Watery Grave on my turn. We're going to see a cycle. Visions, oh god, your mill. Don't like this. Alright, well, that's all kinds of awful. Anyway, here's Teferi, Time Raveler. I'm not going to play Grist and help them mill me. Just cycling Fractured Sanity. There's not a lot this deck can do when I only have 1 card in my graveyard. This is probably an awful matchup, though. Just gotta put that one out there. Alright, Surgical Extracting my Obscura Charm. Yeah, I get it. That one and the other copy in the deck. Probably... Oh, and they did not exile the one in my graveyard. Old Magic Online punish there. Yeah, in Magic Online, you have to actually click exile on the one in the graveyard. It doesn't just go away. Still there for Snapcasting later. We're going to get some hideous laughter here. There are. Exiled 14 cards. Okay. How do I win this game? Logark the Overslime is involved. Plus Teferi, play Slogurk, and play Boseiju. Yeah, attacking is how I do this, and if they mill me, like actual mill me, Slogurk gets enormous. Because every time a land hits my graveyard, it gets +1. Milled 3 non-lands immediately. And Hideous Laughter. One got fewer cards. Okay. I can bounce Ruin Crab, which does go a card deeper into my deck, which I don't really want to do. So does Grist. Guess I'm doing it, though. Ashiok Game Ender. This is going to end the wrong game. Back with Slogurk. And I can Snapcaster Witherbloom command. That does let me hit a land drop. Oh, damn it. I missed a damage, though. Okay. I should have thought of that earlier. Snapcaster Witherbloom. Cast with Flashback. My opponent's going to mill 3, and I'm going to return a land, and I'm going to drain them for 2. I'm not sure that there are fetchable lands left in my deck, or that I want to fetch them. I guess I'm just getting the forest, then. Love it. Josh's Hideous Laughter has been such a beating. 2 Ruin Crabs. It'll push. Okay. No land drop. Okay. What does this mean? And exile all these Crabos. Back with the Gurk. They are down to 7. What did this happen? Did I do that damage to them? I guess I did some of it, but fetching, shocking, surgicaling were all involved as well. The opponent's at 4. I'm going to bind both of their crabs and pass the turn. Yep, those are bound. Okay. If a land goes into my graveyard without killing me, Slowgurk wins the game. Hideous Laughter. Cross my fingers. 13 cards in my deck. 0 cards in my deck. Damn it. All right. Got me. That was close. Not really. Maybe. Blossoming Calm stops some of the things they do, but not other things they do. Endurance is obviously coming in. I don't think Necromentia is where I want to be. Counterspell's good. Drown is solid. Ashiok doesn't matter. You're a Charm. I do like all the reanimate stuff. That is a way to use their own strategy against them. The reanimate Snapcaster stuff. Grist actually really awful. I don't really want to mill myself. Though that is one of my primary ways to win a game. You bring in the Calms and let's try this. All right, Endurance. You're doing a lot of work here, buddy. I will keep this hand. It has Counterspell in it. I like that. Fetching Rafine's Tower with this Misty. All right, well, if you trap, you trap. Rafine's Tower is coming into play. Yep, got me. Oh, you had 2 of them. You want to just play 2 more? Let's get this over with. They probably have Surgical Extraction for this Endurance in my graveyard. I'm just going to shock in Breeding Pool, get Counterspell online. There are still 2 Endurances in my deck. Hedron Crab, I can answer that. Crab hits 3 spells that are not Endurance. And I'm going to bind the Crab in the end step. Killing me for 3. Missed on Endurances again. That Crab out of here. Okay, Endurance is in my hand. They play Subtlety? I don't think so. Oh, I'm going to have to hope there's a green source in my deck that's fetchable. I'm going for it now. Jesus. There's actually not one. Wow, that's a beating. Okay. What do I do with this information? Probably get Watery Grave. Play that tapped. And then Witherbloom Command to drain and pick up a land. Yeah, that sucked. I'm going to pick up my Overgrown Tomb. The blue-green land's already in play. I'll get Overgrown Tomb. And hope I'm not dead right now. Field of Ruin. I did leave a basic in the deck. Jesus, fuck. Okay, and I have no green card to pitch. Alright, we're done. Fucking whatever. Okay, there's that. That's how that can go sometimes. On to the next round. We're a few rounds into the video. Thanks for sticking with me. Friendly reminder that if you're still here and having fun, smash that subscribe button. And if you want to play what I'm playing, you can use my affiliate link for TCG Player to support the channel while you shop for cards, and you can try any deck anytime with a cardhoarder.com loan account for Magic Online. All these links are in the video description below. Now back to the league. Okay, in that mill match, I could have just held up Witherbloom Command as a green card to pitch to Endurance and worked my way through it the hard way. Maybe having more Endurances in my deck, like Endurance, let it sack, then hit itself. Maybe that's a better long-term plan anyway. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, we're on the play in round 4. I'm going to mulligan this no-lander. And I'm going to keep this 3-lander. I'll send Snapcaster. That one is the farthest away from being helpful currently. I'm going to lead on Polluted. No, I'm going to lead on Zagoth Triumph. Polluted Delta can hold up Counterspell or Drown in the Lock on turn 2. And it could also Leyline Bind. I was thinking of sequencing the white mana first, but I think I'd rather hold up Counterspell than Leyline Binding on turn 2. Send it. Got a Savai Triome and an Arid Mesa. Jund? Rusty old Jund? But I held up Counterspell. Untap blue source that makes my other color is Hallowed Fountain. This also now puts 2 cards in their graveyard for this Drown in the Lock in my hand. Getting there. Another Counterspell. Cool. Shocked in Steam Vents. Pull the Mirror Breaker. No thanks. I can't go 1-for-1 with this deck forever, but countering this Fable, which is a 2 or 3-for-1, no thanks. Ooh, I do like that card quite a lot. I'm gonna play Boseiju. Guess I didn't need to do that because I need to tap my lands to play Teferi anyway. Yeah, probably should have waited on that. Just draw my card in case they have some unholy heat or similar. Oh, your creativity, and I've just played into it. Cool. God damn it. Me with 2 counter spells and a removal spell in my hand, about to die to a combo deck. Just don't creativity right now. How about that? Okay, Fable. I'm somehow relieved. My lands don't cast 2 spells anyway. The Godless Shrine is helpful. That lets me cast Binding and still hold up Drown in the Loch, which can protect Teferi for a turn. I'll let them do their loot, or they know their goblin's getting removed. Discarded Archon and Leyline. In combat, I'm going to bind the goblin. The cool thing about binding a token is that future Teferis can bounce binding and there's nothing to give back. They're going face, ignoring Teferi. There are 5 cards in their graveyard, which they can currently creativity as a 4-drop. Lightning Bolt, stop. I need that guy. I'm countering the Lightning Bolt. They didn't creativity when the coast was clear last turn. They have more stuff. There's Mari command. Okay. Oh, can't stop 2 of these. And the modes are target player draws 2, discards 2. They dump 2 cards. They are digging. I guess I'm playing my lands. My mana base is so painful that sandbagging lands doesn't make any sense. You should just get them out there and collect your 2 points. Dwarven Mine. They are creativitying. I'm going to destroy target creature. They're only targeting one thing. Let's get rid of that. This way they can't exile their graveyard to stuff my counterspell or anything. I don't even know if that's a thing they could do in the main deck, but I can play around it, so I will. I'm just fetching now to get my F6 value. I want a blue source. Probably Watery Grave. I have 2 black, 2 blue, 2 white, 2 green. I definitely don't need more green. And I do want to leave the Triomes in the deck in case I draw them to cycle. We are at that point of the game. You got to think about every little thing. Hey! White, blue, colorless. Always happy to see this. Oh shit. I tapped my white source. I talked about how Leyline binding. We have this line. Sorry, Job. I am not doing this deck justice. Literally could have picked a different source of blue, then I get to leave up white and I get to bounce the Leyline. Now I have to bounce Reflection, give them value off it. Because I don't have to. I could spike a land still off binding, but God, that was bad. Yeah, I'm going to bounce the binding still. It's still just the right play. Ugh. Okay, somehow never punished. Drown in the Loch. Okay, I don't need to. I want to drown this Kiki Jiki in the Loch, but I also don't want to lose to creativity. So I'm going to hold up Drown. Renin 6. I don't want this happening either. Leyline Binding can answer that, though. King to my Teferi. That was dead in a variety of ways anyway. King for 3. Pre-combat. 1 card left in hand. This is a Spell Pierce deck. I think I just have to take 3. Okay. Another Binding. I'll start with that. Bind Renin 6. And I'll start to pass the turn and see if they make a dwarf in my end step. Not make a dwarf in the end step. That's fine. Fable. I don't want to play against that card. Blue, black. Okay. I am just going to hope they don't have Spell Pierce at this point. They're down to 1 card in hand. We're in there on the binding. Get rid of Jiki. Now I have to find a way to beat this dwarf token before it deals 8 more damage to me. Good spell? Okay, that's a good spell. I can kill their dwarf, pick up a land. Target player mills 3, I return a land. Target creature gets -3/-1. I can decide if I want to mill them or mill myself. My graveyard's already kind of gassed up. I'm not a loam deck. They already have an Archon, and they do have graveyard synergies, but it's fine. I think all their graveyard synergies are already paid out. Let's just keep Drown in the Loch flush. Flooded Strand. And play my land. We milled Teferi, Leyline Binding, Prismatic Command, or Prismari Command. Good to see all those go. Oh no, their last card was Binding. Okay, they can Binding my Binding, get back. Probably Fable is better than Ren. Yep. Okay. We're in shit mode now. Are they going to loot away the card they just drew? They drew Bloodstained Mire and looted it away. The Goblin gets in. I need them to have bricked and a big draw from me. Fetching in the end step. Get these lands into play. I think I just want Breeding Pool. Yeah, it was Breathing Pool or Rafine's Tower, but I'm going to stick to the keep cyclers in the deck plan as my life total dwindles here. Logurk, okay. This card does get between me and the Goblin token, at the very least. Fortunately, Boseju's not in my graveyard to hit their Binding, get my Binding, take out their action. Boseju's in play. They can fetch for a 1/1 here. I imagine there are still Dwarven Mines in their deck. Yep. Okay, 2 cards in their hand. They're about to flip Kiki Jiki. They're tapping mana. That probably means I'm dead. So they're casting Teferi. No, late. Prismatic Ending, even worse. Prismatic Ending. I get my 2 lands back, but that's not the kind of card advantage I'm interested right now. Having to play this Boseju earlier actually really messed me up in this Leyline Mirror. I'm at 2. We need to run like Teferi into Snapcaster into some more action. Could happen. Not like that. Okay, we're done. Yeah, that game was not played perfectly, obviously. Boseju, Necromentia. Blossoming Calm actually does stop Archon triggers. Buy me a turn. Ashiok is not the worst against this deck. Their Bloom Command has targets, but it seems kind of medium. And this is a graveyard deck that does some searching. Maybe I play 1 Blossoming Calm. It's certainly not plan A to let my opponent put an Archon into play and get hexproof from the trigger. And Force of Vigor is good against Fable and Leyline Binding. I don't know if that's a space I want to be in. Let's look at this. So Ashiok, let's assume for a second Ashiok's out. Obscura Charm counters target instant or sorcery, namely creativity. Crown in the Lock, a little risky, but I'm not beating up on their graveyard anymore, and they do have a lot of tokens, so maybe not that risky. Unearth is looking like the worst card still on the deck right now, and be a Grist on mono defense, win with Slowgurk and Snapcaster Mage. Okay, let's do it. This mana cast Teferi, but not counterspell, I'm still going to keep. And I'm going to fetch one of the Triomes. Just got to figure out which one it is. They're all... I have Abzan mana, so my splash colors are covered. I should get one that's not green, because this forest is here. That would make Rafine's Tower the call. Do I need double green? Blue-black happens no matter what. White happens no matter what. Getting Rafine's Tower. Immediately drew a double green spell. Stuff. Godless Shrine and pass. Yeah, they just have a wide open shot at Ren and 6 here. And they are slamming it. There it is. Okay. Got to get through that now. I'm going to play Teferi and plus. Oh, there's my blue source right on time. Teferi plus pass. If I minus, it just dies to Ren. If I plus, I get to float a bounce for next turn that can clear a goblin token. Cracking their fetch. Still doing something. Leyline Binding. Okay. Good one. Ace Bryn's Prodigy. If I could cast that and hold up Counterspell, I think I'd be interested, but I can't. Kind of an awkward little game of whack-a-mole here. I could play Teferi, bounce their Leyline Binding, get my other Teferi back, minus a draw card, but then they can ping my Teferi with Ren and just replay their Leyline Binding. Guess I'm just playing Otawara and passing the turn, and punished by my lack of double green on this trio. This would be a great setup otherwise. Casting Fable. I can counter this. Yeah, I think I'm just going to take the counter spell where I can get it. At some point, I'm going to have to put something on the board with this Jace and this Teferi. Cool. I have something to bounce with Teferi now. Obscura Charm. That can counter creativity. I'm running out of time against this Ren and 6, though. Ugh. Obscura Charm can also kill Ren and 6. Okay, I think I'm just going to pass this turn. Don't get creativity. I can counter creativity if they cast it, or I can kill Ren and 6 if they don't. Got Rockran Triome. Just snap that right off. End of turn. Destroy Ren and 6, which they didn't activate. That's weird. Black, white, blue. This gets beat by Spell Pierce or Veil of Summer. I'm glad they didn't have either. Drown on the Lock. I have a chance at that one, I guess. And they didn't rebuy a fetch land. I'm gonna shoot my shot with Teferi here. I can clear their token. And if I draw an untapped blue or black source, I'm holding up Drown, which is good for 3 currently. They're commanding in response, dealing 2 to me and making a treasure. Or they're draw 2, discard 2, make a treasure. Okay. That makes more sense. Discard an Archon. This does give them a big juicy graveyard. If I can draw the untapped land here. Come on, come on. Ugh. Wise ass. All right. Guess I will play the Boseiju and have a bad time about it. I'd like to put Jace into play, but if they do anything at all that results in an Archon, I end up losing Jace. I guess Teferi could have absorbed against the Archon. Creativity, yep. Be cool to drown in the lock this, but I can't. All right, you have an Archon. Sacking Teferi and discarding probably Force of Vigor at this point. Yeah, discard the Force. Just drown in the lock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can't kill Archon outright. They're 1 land away from just recasting it, but I'm still going to try to send it. Logurk, okay. Here's Jace, and pass the turn. Archon will eat Teferi if it goes back. They don't have enough mana to kill 2 things unless they do something else this turn, but just rejamming Archon doesn't get it done here. There's a land. They can definitely recast Archon if they want that. Leyline Binding. Bummer. Taking the Teferi. Okay. Interesting. Okay. They're letting me keep Jace, it seems. Or no, they moved to second main, then stopped moving. Because Jace can flip over this Force of Vigor. Prismatic Ending. That seems kind of late to the party, though exiling that treasure is not nothing. I'm going to activate Jace. Discard the Prismatic Ending. Jace flips. I can cast a spell from my graveyard this turn. I'm not sure any of that is better than Drown in the Lock. And I can Leyline Bind their Archon on the way back down. We just play Slowgurk and threaten to pick up lands. Okay. I think Slowgurk is the play here. I'm going to target nothing with Jace's plus. Okay. Kind of a weird sequence. If they put another card in their graveyard, okay, they crack their fetch line, now Drown in the Lock is on. Can drown the Archon, and if Archon gets through Drown somehow, I can bind it. Sack Slowgurk. Here's a Dwarven Mine. Here's Archon. Let's hope they don't have Veil of Summer or Spell Pierce. Add the Veil of Summer. Get fucked me. Okay, sure. Your Archon resolves. I lose Slowgurk and my other Drown in the Lock. Or Binding's worse than Drown here. Because they have bindings that can fight my bindings. I'm going to sack Slowgurk and discard Binding. Slowgurk can get back Misty Rainforest. Bar's Headquarters. Finally find a cycler after Slowgurk leaves the battlefield. Obscura Charm can buy back Slowgurk or Teferi. If I Obscura Charm, get back Teferi, bounce Dwarf Token, and then Drown in the Lock. I have too much green mana in play to do that. This requires blue, blue, black, black, white. And I can get 4 of those 5 pips that I need. I could destroy the 2 bindings with Force of Vigor and then drown the Archon. And I'm dead to the next creativity. Playing Misty Rainforest, that's definitely happening. And I have to kill Archon, blue, black. Put Archon in the graveyard. And I'm going to fetch basic Island and try to flashback Force of Vigor. Okay, I'm going for Force of Vigor. I'm going to destroy their ley lines. And I get 2 Teferis back. One of them dies immediately. And I'm going to bounce their token with that Teferi. I drew another Force of Vigor. Okay. Pass the turn from here. Like we're just elbow tapping another Archon into play. This will kill Teferi, and I'm going to discard Force of Vigor. Kill Teferi, discard Force. Oh no, they have Lightning Bolt. No! I had this one answered too with a flashback, but now I don't. Answer? All right, Spar's headquarters. Do the thing I've been talking about you doing for the entire game. Let's go. Cycle me up an answer. Spara's HQ coming in when we need it most. Surely there's no chance they have their own answers to this Leyline Binding in their deck with Teferi and Leyline Binding. And 5 cards in their hand. Cracking a fetch. That can mean one thing, which is creativity for the 4th Archon. In you go. Yep, I'm at 5. And we draw another answer before they can protect this. I'm going to fetch, clear this last land out of the way, mercifully at 4 life. We get Watery Grave tapped. Come on, deck. Let's do something here. Keep it going. Okay. Yeah, that was kind of fun. It took all 4 Archons to beat us and a Veil of Summer, but yeah, when they execute their thing, they get Archon of Cruelty. When I execute my thing, I get Slogurk. Not quite operating on the same level here. For the absolute best Magic the Gathering apparel on the market, check out the link in the video description to coalesceapparel.shop and be sure to use the code BoshNRoll for 10% off when you check out. I'm on the play in the final round. We've already dodged 05, playing for that 2-3 consolation prize. This hand does cast Leyline Binding. It works towards Grist. It doesn't cast this Drown that I have yet. I'm going to keep it though. Fetching Rafine's Tower with Flooded Strand. Yeah, I'll get into it in the debrief at the end, but I think this deck is either trying to do too much or not doing enough. And what I mean by that is the 4th color adding much to this little fair plan we got going on compared to play 4 colors and just go over the top with all the biggest things you could play, like Jace the Mind Sculptor, or like you got to keep up with Omnath in the 4 color space, and we have nothing like Omnath. I'll dig into it in the debrief, but that's what I'm thinking right now. Looks like we are against creativity again. I'm going to be cycling this Unearth, trying to hit my land drop. Come on, land. Give me this Grist. All right, we got there. This land does not cast Counterspell, so I don't have to feel bad about not holding that up. Just get Grist happening. Can't Spell Pierce this one. Grist is in. Immediately make a 1/1, so I don't get Lightning Bolted. Mill a blue source, of course. That's all right. Slogurk is in the hand. We've got a plan. Or something that looks like a plan. If I do draw a blue source, I can Leyline Bind something and still Counterspell. Got some options here. It's a little Wrenn and 6. And Lightning Bolt to protect it. Fair enough. Oh, there's a cool play here, actually. Oh, bummer. I mean, I'm glad I drew that land. But the cool play I was going to talk about is play Slogurk, immediately sack it to kill Wrenn and 6, and then use it to hit my land drop, picking up those 2 lands. That's no longer the play. I'm going to shock in Watery Grave and bind this Wrenn and 6. Got Counterspell for whatever. I've got Drown for small things. It looks like they're just passing. Be sick to be able to deploy Slogurk here. No love on the Slogurk. Fairy's not bad though. I could do the Slogurk play of play it, sack it, but sacking it doesn't even do anything. Okay, I'm gonna plus Grist. Milling over more lands. And I guess I'm just passing here. As soon as I find land number 3, I can drop to Fairy or Slogurk and keep holding up Counterspell. But in the meantime, not much is going on. But Archon isn't really good against what I'm doing, because I can just sack an Insect instead of a Grist thing, instead of Grist. Prismari commanded to pick off an insect. Looks like they're starting to set up their move here. They saw me shotgun Watery Grave 2 turns ago. They know I have some sort of interaction here. It's Poke and Grist. You got it. I'm not going to interact with that. And in the end step, I could drown the dwarf, or I could just keep drawing cards. Static Ending. Plus Grist. Build another land. Keep them coming. It's going well so far. Back with a bug. And I'm going to end this dwarf. Get rid of it. They can replace it, but keeping the token count low seems like something worth doing. Didn't make another dwarf. They're not going to make a move now, at least not in that fashion. Okay. Dwarf from hand. That'll do. Cracking a fetch. Looks like they're making a move. If I just played into Spell Pierce, then they got me. If they go for 3 Archons here, targeting the treasure and everything else, they can still Spell Pierce. They'll just only get 2 Archons when it resolves. They're making 2 targets. Okay. I will cast my counterspell and probably get Spell Pierced here. Yep, okay. Sure. Okay, you get 2 Archons. Sack the insects. Discard Brown. No, I think I have to discard Snapcaster. Snapcaster. Discard insect or sack insect. Discard. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards in the graveyard. Right, I guess it has to be Brown. Ugh. I could only get to 7. I could Teferi to bounce. Slogurk and I could play Slogurk, sack it to Grist, lose 3 things. I may sack a creature. Okay. Can't sack Teferi after I bounce. That's not how this card works. 1 mana short of doing the Slogurk line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They can't replay Archon this turn. I guess I'll play Teferi, bounce one of these Archons, and see what I can shake loose. Obscura Charm. Not quite what I want. Opponent loses life equal to the creatures in my graveyard. There's currently 1. Deck's not great at doing that. I'll make an insect. And having land in play, I think, is better than having Obscura Charm or Slogurk in my hand. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, but Prismatic Ending, that random dwarf that was already behind against my Grist, which let me get Spell Pierced, just feeling real bad in retrospect. Tickling Savai Triome, you got it. Let's see where these attacks go. Oh, at me. I'm at 9. Jesus Christ, man. All right. Yeah, I'll concede. Okay. Tough beat, but probably deserved it. Blossoming Calm. I like this Ashiok has not lived up to the hype at any point in this league, unfortunately, because it's a card that I love, but does not hang here the way that it does in Legacy, just immediately ending most games where it's played. Ashiok's out. Do I want to do the same thing I did last round and really get low? Witherbloom Command kills Ryan in 6. I should probably leave that in. Force of Vigor. Second Beseju. Maybe I don't want all these forces in. Yeah, alright. I'm gonna go a little lighter on the counter leyline situation this time. Okay, I'll keep. This hand casts the spells that are in it for the most part. Necromentia, I'm going to need a black source, but I can counterspell into Teferi. Have choices. Play the tower. Naturally, once again, all of my techie lands are in my hand, where I'm going to have to play them as lands. Wonder if there's any sweet cards that pick up lands for value. I think Trade Routes is legal in Modern. I'm not saying we want that in this deck. Though maybe we do. I'm not saying we don't. Okay, they just played a land and passed. I think I have to jam one of these Teferis. They can't creativity this turn. If I flesh out a Spell Pierce, it's cool. It's gonna get me eventually. I'm over here missing land drops. Too many 3s in this deck, I think it's safe to say. They can resolve whatever they want here. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Yep, that is the best one. Well, I get to Teferi, but if they just go fetch land creativity here, back in the trash, still missing land drops. It's like there's not even 24 lands in this deck. This is so many. This plays more lands than 4-color Omnath does. The difference is Wrenn and 6. Just the difference between hitting every land drop and never thinking about it to, while also presenting a must kill for your opponent, and not playing red is tough. Let's see if we just get Archoned here. They have the fetch land. We're making a move. That's not a dwarf. Wrenn and 6 can kill Teferi if it wants to. Sure does. Watery Grave. Okay, I can Necromentia here. It gets Spell Pierced. It doesn't get Veil of Summer. They don't have green. Is that enough to win a game? Don't think it's getting better. Okay, I'm going for the Necro and just hoping that this works. It'll at least take the pressure off getting combo killed. I'm going to name Archon of Cruelty. And we'll see if they boarded in the Sundering Titan. There's an Archon in their hand. They're going to get a zombie. There is no other big Chungus in the deck to flip into. So they now have 4 creativities and 2 persists that basically don't have text. Look at that Veil of Summer in their hand too. Feels good not being the only idiot playing a 4-color deck, unable to cast my spells. But their hand is really good. I'm less excited about. Okay. And Fable flips. Wrenn and 6 is still active. They can still do the 1/1 dwarf beatdown thing. There's a cycler in the deck too. If they run out of dwarves, they can start drawing extra cards. Mari Command and Leyline Binding. Okay, this land was actually really good, because if I play Teferi and they Veil of Summer in response, I can't bounce anything, but if I can counter it, then I can. I think I'm just going to fetch a white source first. And I think I have to get Hallowed Fountain here. There's a lot of blue going on in my hand. Snap Counterspell is a 3 blue play. Yeah. Okay, here's Teferi on the stack. Let's see if they Veil of Summer. I would, personally, but I will counter it if they do it. Okay, they didn't Veil. That's fun. I bounce their zombie and draw a card. The Reflection can attack Teferi. So can this 1/1 they're tutoring up. Saving Veil for something better makes some sense. Veil can stuff a Grist activation. Plus Wrenn on Bloodstained Mire. That's another dwarf. There's still 3 dwarf mountains in the deck. They're attacking me and Teferi. I could trade Snapcaster right now for this Reflection of Kiki Jiki when there's nothing they can do about it. That actually sounds awesome. Snapcaster Mage. I don't need to protect Teferi by blocking. That's dead in a variety of ways anyway. They have Prismari Command and Leyline Binding in hand. But saving 2 life and getting Reflection off the board are nice. Another counterspell. Black, green, colorless. Activate Grist. Milled Leyline Binding. Leyline Binding, there's yours. We knew about that. Got more Grist where that came from. Fetched out another dwarf in the end step. Cycled Ketria Triome. Minus Wrenn to clear the attack path. Right, they're just running for the end step here. Running for the end game. Not the end step. That's going to happen whether they like it or not. I'm going to fetch here. Do I have a blue shock left? Yeah, I have Breeding Pool in here still. Leaving the Triomes for cycling. Alright, deck. You got a lot of counter spells. Plus Grist. Keep it coming. It'll land. That's fine. Didn't want that. You're another Binding. That sucks. Okay. They're still sitting on Prismari Command and Veil of Summer over there. There's a Force of Vigor and another Boseiju in my deck, both of which bust out my Grist from prison. Obscura Charm recurring Teferi is not nothing. It's not great, but it's not nothing. Wrenn has decided to grab a Cycler and keep the action coming this turn rather than ping my Insect. Okay, found a Dwarven Mine. Lightning Bolt. Is it time to get this Veil of Summer out of their hand? I think so. I have so many counter spells that are just walled up here with nothing to do. Yeah, that's fine. Veil is out of their hand. At least the one I know about. Feels bad to just give them that, but I'm dying on board. And know I have to get through it eventually. Prismatic Ending. Okay. Take out Wrenn and 6 probably. They can put me on a 2-turn clock. Wait. Green? Exile Wrenn, and I have double counterspell up. Yeah, I get 1 more draw step this game. Get the last Dwarven Mine and just pick me apart. I played Creativity for a while, IRL. I played it in some tournaments and stuff, and these were my favorite games where I'm not comboing, don't have a win con, and I'm just doing this sort of thing. I'm going to counter this. I stopped playing Creativity because Blood Moon is just unbeatable. That's not where I want to be in a format where the best deck main deck's Blood Moon. But when you're not up against that specifically, Creativity is a monster. Very well, now or never on this counter spell. I'm empty over here. What do you got? Oh, you got a Spell Pierce. Oh no, that land doesn't make Spell Pierce. Okay, I need to stabilize against these creatures right now. I'm not sure how that happens, but let's run some good stuff together. Don't draw land. Go. Well, okay. I'm gonna zap a Leyline Binding, get Grist, plus Grist. I'm at 1. Alrighty. Technically not dead. They are a Lightning Bolt and Red and 6 deck, all of which kill me. And I hope they don't have those things. Block. Alright, deck. Give me some gas. Something in the tank. No, not like this. Alright. And once again, a game ends with us slightly behind, not able to catch up, and drawing a land. That was a common theme in this league. Okay, let's flesh out the thoughts I had at the beginning of round 5. Obviously, this deck was not successful. The thing that was on my mind is we are not doing enough to justify 4 colors. If there is some big, absolute hammer reason to be in all these colors, then we should lean into that. But I am not super convinced that there is. And even just among the cards that we have, the fact that we are not able to interact until turn 2, and even that's conditional with Drown in the Lock, Witherbloom Command, and Counterspell, all of those require more setup, or at least the opponent to play their cards in the correct way that these line up. And the one change I made the deck worse for sure. Prismatic Ending is number 3 is better than Drown in the Lock number 4. Ashiok really didn't do anything. Those are flex slots. Snapcaster was solid when we drew it, which wasn't very often. And the construction of this deck, the fact that we need so many permanents in the deck to make Obscura Charm worth playing, really hurts Snapcaster Mage. Because if you look at the spells in this deck, Snapcaster only can play Prismatic Ending, Drown in the Lock, Witherbloom Command, Obscura Charm, and Unearth. Which, it seems like a lot. I just said a lot of things, but there's no opt, there's no consider, there's no little value play that Snapcaster Mage can make. These are all gigantic hammers for the late game. This is just a little too top heavy for what it's trying to do. Lowering the curve would help. Also, cutting a color would help. We are blue-black at the core. Our white cards are Teferi, Obscura Charm, and the removal spells. Those were all really good. Our green spells are Witherbloom Command and Slowgurk, and some stuff out of the sideboard. And I guess we count Boseiju, because we don't get that in a non-green deck, even though it's not really a spell. Yeah, I think the black was the least successful part of this deck. Unearth rarely came up. There just aren't enough creatures in the deck for Unearth to come up. We leaned so far into Obscura Charm, playing all these goofy planeswalkers that Unearth doesn't get. Grist is great because it overlaps with both. But there's no like Eternal Witness or really cool stuff that we were doing in the last league with Unearth. Having 5 of my 24 lands not cast counterspell is really bad. Balancing playing around Blood Moon, or at least respecting Blood Moon and actually casting your spells in the absence of Blood Moon, is a big challenge in Modern. We could just go ham and shove 0 basics and run it and just be dead to Blood Moon, or count on Force of Vigor to do it, or to answer it proactively with Counterspell, but that sounds bad. Even if you want to be 4 colors, if you're just married to playing Slowgurk, who was not great in this league, which is a shame because he really just went insane in the last league we played, the Sultai Loam one. If you really want to play Slowgurk, you could just splash him off of 1 or 2 Triomes in an Esper deck. Then it's still in the Unearth package. You probably lose Grist. You definitely lose Witherbloom Command, but you can fill in the space with other better magic cards that interact better on curve. You could play Thoughtseize or Inquisition of Kozilek, something that really pokes a hole in opponent's plans, lets you plan. I want some Jace the Mind Sculptor in this deck. Multiple times we achieved stability or near stability and just couldn't pull ahead in any sort of way. You could even play Teferi, Hero of Dominaria in this deck. Nothing's stopping you. You got all the colors. That might be better than Jace. Yeah, we're doing too much with both the Planeswalker reanimation strat and the creature reanimation strat, so much that neither is good. And we're not doing enough in that even when we're firing on all cylinders, we're not doing anything particularly impressive. And that's okay. This isn't a failing, it's a testing opportunity. And even though every spell in this deck looks defensible on its own, after we play a few matches with it, you see why maybe they don't go in this particular collection. Good lessons learned. Job, I hope this helps at your next FNM. Focus this thing down, and well, you can talk about it next month. Everybody, thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the Patreon if you want to support the channel, or if you want to have your deck featured like Job. Either way, thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.